Hello everybody, this is Bronco Juggalo, and I want to welcome you to Slashback Saturday One Night Stand. Now why do I call it One Night Stand? Because this is just a one-time shot, guys. And the reason it's a one-time shot is this is a special edition of Slashback Saturday. This is my category. And my category is movies I want to dedicate to my buddies. And this buddy just happens to be the Horror Man, Joe the Horror Man. And today I am reviewing this movie, Massacre at Central High. Now this release you see before you is the Synapse release, the Steelbook. It is fucking awesome. And this movie, despite having 3 DVD releases, is extremely rare. Now this is a 1976 film, directed by Renee Daalder, starring Daryl Murray as David and Kim Beck as Teresa. This movie also has David Carradine in it. New kid David decides not to join the bullies, and it costs him, and now they will pay. This movie is also known as Blackboard Massacre, and the Italian version is known as Sexy Jeans. Also, something very cool is in the Italian version, every time there was a sex scene, they actually inserted porn. Guys, there is something about this movie that is just so smooth and laid back. It's such a off-the-wall horror film and such an offbeat slasher film, for that matter. It's not a slasher film in the normal sense of the word. There is no killer running around chopping you up with a machete like in Friday the 13th there. Or with a big butcher knife like in Halloween. But I say, even though some people say this is not a slasher movie, I say it is. There is a stalk and kill aspect, just like in a slasher movie. There is a character who had something happen to him that turns him into a killer, just like in a slasher movie. And as I said, he goes one-on-one with his people for the most part. Or in small groups, he hunts them down and, you know, in this case, he uses different ways of killing people. But I still say that in its core, it is a slasher film. This movie was shot on 35mm, and it had a $500,000 budget. Guys, as I said, this is a very offbeat and laid-back horror film, and I really do enjoy it. There's something very soothing about watching it. It's very relaxing, even. And I think part of it has to do with the music. And the funny part about that is that reportedly, the director hated the musical score so bad that he didn't watch this film for 3 decades. Now, as far as cons go, I only have kind of 1.5 cons. You know, it's always funny when I watch movies like this because I always remember in the 1990s when Scream came out and people started making fun of horror films saying, oh, the people that are playing 15, 16, 17, 18-year-olds all look like they're 30. Well, in this movie, they really look like they're 30. All the actors were in their late 20s to early 30s. And I will say this, though, that did not hurt with the women. That's a big pro for this movie, believe me. But aside, and I'm not saying they did a bad job, all the actors did a great job, in my opinion. Now, some critics have called some of the acting wooden, and I don't believe that. I don't consider it wooden at all. I think it was done deliberately and with purpose. The only con I really have in this movie is that there is a pretty graphic attempted rape scene. There's no like entry or anything like that. But I mean, they're fighting these girls, they're holding them down, they're stripping their clothes off. And then, you know, another girl comes in and tries to stop it, and she gets taken in too. And then a dude comes in, the main guy, you know, small spoiler here, and he fights him off. But then everything just goes on as normal. Those bullies are still the bullies, they're still in charge. Nobody seemed to give a shit about the fact that these guys were trying to rape people or anything they were doing, which, you know, I definitely am not into snitching at all, but like you would expect somebody to be around, somebody to notice this shit was going on, at least somewhat. I mean, this isn't like the schools where I saw some bullying. I mean, this shit was like they were fucking doing some graphic shit. Trying to rape chicks right in the classroom. Like, what the fuck, you know? That's something about this movie is there are no quote-unquote adults in this film until the end of the movie. And I don't know if that was done on purpose. I don't know if it's just because they didn't have the budget for more actors, or if it's just because they didn't think that the adults were relevant to the story. And it kind of makes like their own little world here, you know? But that's all good because it really did help with this movie, I would think. I think it gave us the ability to concentrate on what was going on within the lives of this high school, within the lives of these kids, quote unquote. Now, as far as pros go, this is a slow burn movie, but it definitely holds your attention. And it holds your attention with a few different ways. Now, if you are a person that's into this, there is lots of TNA in this movie, and there are a lot of really hot women. And they show everything. So, that can hold your attention. The events leading up to when the killing starts hold your attention. Something I really liked about this movie, and this is one of those things that makes it an off-the-wall, offbeat kind of horror film, because this is something you never see in horror films, is the hang gliding scenes. They're almost peaceful until something happens. But how often do we see hang gliding scenes in horror movies? I mean, I just think that was kind of cool. I really, really like the kills. As I said, this is, in its essence, a slasher film, but it's not your typical slasher kills. And there's something very cool about that. They're very inventive. They're done well. And they look pretty dope from the things that we do get to see. Like the very first kill, I really liked. It is the hang gliding kill, so small spoiler here, guys. The killer rigs one of the hang gliders, and it fucks up, and he falls right out of the sky, and he lands right on a bunch of power lines, and he gets fried. And I fucking thought that was awesome. I really did like that. Part of the kills as well, there's some very subtle imagery in this movie. Like, there's this great kill where the victim slumps over a book, and the blood runs down the pages of the book into the spine, you know, into the crease of the spine where the book is open. And then it runs down the top of the spine and it beads. You know how blood can bead, just like any liquid can bead, if you know what I'm talking about. I don't know if you know what beading is, but it's when it forms a little droplet that rolls along. And it rolled right along the edge of the spine of the book. And it was just very, very powerful image for me. I'm not really sure why that stuck out so much, but it really did. And there was just something very cool about the way this movie was filmed. This movie really does harken back to a different time in horror. It really shows what can be done, or what was done in the 70s, that you can't do today. People would flip about a movie like this. And I've heard and read that some people have said this movie was basically a foreshadowing or a prediction of things like Columbine. So I don't know how true that is, but I do find it funny that our killer at the end of the movie is wearing a trench coat, kind of. And there's a lot of things that he's making in his garage and doing things that the Columbine kids did. Maybe they've seen this movie. I don't know. You know me, I never blame art for things that people do, that people need to take responsibility for their own actions. No matter where they may have gotten an idea from, they're the crazy motherfuckers that did it, you know? But overall, Massacre at Central High is, in my opinion, a brilliantly made film. I really do enjoy this movie a lot. I'm so happy I picked up this release, even though it is quite expensive. I am very, very happy with it. And I know that my buddy Joe likes this movie a lot too. And I wanted to dedicate a very special Slashback Saturday review to Joe, just in honor of all of the great slashbacks that he gave us, and just the creation of that entire wave, that movement in the horror community was an amazing thing. I want to thank Joe for that. And I'm going to stop kissing his ass now, all right? This is Bronco Juggalo saying peace out.
Night Stalker, the Day Walker, Nosferatu, an angel's doctor, a feared monster. I've clearly conquered your ears, bonkering catchfades and revealed imposters. A weird observer, a near-death experiment, a spiked flogger, beta blocker.